Good evening. Today we will be covering Chapter 27, Psychology in Bodybuilding by Jasmine Coleman Mays. In today's chapter, we will start with an introduction. We'll move then to bodybuilding competition and training, key psychological issues in bodybuilding, psychological skills training, and then we will end with a small conclusion at the end. Bodybuilding is a very popular sporting activity. Millions of people nationwide lift weights on a daily basis with the intent of reshaping their physiques. Yet surprisingly, there is only a small percentage of people who actually go beyond weightlifting and pursue bodybuilding competitions. Competitive is a unique sport that offers many interesting challenges to the sports psychologist. And in this particular chapter, we will discuss some of the key issues that sports psychologists need to consider when working with professional bodybuilders. The sport of bodybuilding does have a professional circuit, though very few bodybuilders are able to make a living purely from competing. Many others work as personal trainers, own gymnasia, or sell bodybuilding clothing or supplements to make ends meet. There are various bodybuilding organizations that organize competitions around the world. When it comes down to the competition, there are a number of rounds, usually 3. The first of which usually requires each bodybuilder to strike a number of compulsory poses. These usually include the front double biceps, back double biceps, lat spreads including the back, and the most muscular. The next round then allows the bodybuilder to perform a freestyle posing routine to the music of their choice. On the basis of their scores in these 2 rounds, a number of competitors are then chosen for the final round, called the pose down. Preparing for a bodybuilding competition is extremely hard work. In fact, the training and strenuous diet make this one of the most physically demanding sports of all sports. In the pre-contest training phase, bodybuilders try to reduce body fat levels as low as possible so that the muscles can show through the skin clearly defined as possible. It is immediately apparent to any outsider entering the world of bodybuilding that the lifestyle of many bodybuilders is very different, not only from that of the general population, but also from that of most other athletes. There are some psychological issues related to this lifestyle that are very important for the sports psychologist, and therefore this issue will be examined first in this section. The first one is overtraining and burnout, and the second one is female bodybuilders. Given that a small but dedicated group of competitive female bodybuilders is an important part of the bodybuilding scene, issues specific to women will then be examined. Finally, given the extreme physical and psychological challenges presented by the competition itself, it would seem appropriate to discuss the psychological issues related to specifically the bodybuilding competition. A number of bodybuilding coaches and writers have pointed out that the compulsive attitude of many bodybuilders has led to gross overtraining and burnout, becoming very common in this sport. The obsessive mindset of many bodybuilders can be very counterproductive, often leading to overtraining and eventually burnout, actually making it less likely that they will achieve the bodybuilding goals. One of the sports psychologist's key roles may be encouraging and facilitating the integration of bodybuilding training, diet, and sufficient rest into a well-balanced lifestyle in such a way that the bodybuilder can lead a well-balanced, fulfilling life, rewarding without compromising the bodybuilding process. And this is what comes out of the overtraining and burnout. Female bodybuilders often find themselves subject to negative reactions from the general public, even being labeled as freaky or weird. Given that the health benefits of weight training are probably even greater for women than they are for men, helping to increase bone mineral density and thus making osteoporosis less likely, and also making the debilitating muscle weaknesses that can cause women to lose their independence later in life less likely to occur. But one of the things that we have noticed is that the fact that female bodybuilders have overcome the psychological effects of the negative perceptions pertaining to the public, they have actually built a great determination, and sometimes this determination can lead to a huge obsession, and therefore the consultant should take care to ensure that this determination is channeled appropriately and does not become all consuming, causing these women to want to become great at any cost. Now we have made it to the portion of the slide that is talking about psychological skills training. Athletes are always searching for techniques that will give them a mental edge. A bodybuilders bodybuilders are of no exception. In fact, bodybuilders are generally very open to the idea that mental factors are very important to bodybuilding success and are usually keen to make use of suggested psychological performance enhancement techniques. One of the main things that they use here are pretty much very simple, and we are very known. They're very known, and one of the techniques is imagery. When doing imagery, it's key that you focus on the physical. In the physical, you should basically imagine the muscle fatigue and discomfort. Therefore, the bodybuilder should be encouraged to imagine the muscle fatigue and discomfort they feel when training. They should also adopt the same posture as when actually performing the exercise. Then we have to make sure that we focus on the environment. It is important for the person to imagine performing their workout where they would actually perform it to make imagery realistic. The next thing when it comes down to imagery is to make sure that during the imagery, attention should be focused on the same things during the actual workout, which is called the task. When doing imagery in bodybuilding, we must not forget the timing. Preparation for and execution of weight training exercise should be imagined in real time rather than slow motion. This would actually help the athlete as well. Learning. Changes in how movements feel will occur over time. If you ask a bodybuilder to think back to the first time he or she performed the bench press, he or she will probably know that he or she felt really awkward and struggled to balance the bar evenly. However, within a short time, he could perform the movement much more smoothly. So it's key that we always keep the learning process going. Emotion. Imagery should also involve the emotions felt when performing the workout. Most bodybuilders prior to and during workout feel psychologically and physiologically aroused. So we must make sure that we always focus on our. And last but not least, we have perspective and goal setting. Perspective is basically imagery can be performed in either the first person, which is considered internal imagery, or the third person, which is external imagery. Internal imagery is when one is basically imagines itself in its own body, and then external imagery is basically when you see yourself in what you're doing. Let's not forget that goal setting is so key in imagery. In goal setting, we must make sure that our goals are specific and measurable, challenging, realistic. The progress should be closely monitored and, of course, always time-oriented. We must know that when dealing with bodybuilding, that imagery is really good when it comes down to the overall success of that particular bodybuilder. One of the last components to imagery that is so critical and so key is that of concentration. According to Darden, to get the best workout you possibly can, you must concentrate. You must put your mind to it and simply do it. See, it's not that hard. When it comes down to bodybuilding, we must want to use all the psychological skill needed to make sure that we can be the best that we can be. And this is my conclusion. Sports psychologists are very needed in bodybuilding, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you take in everything that we said. Have a great day.